evening, Mr. Haynes.
Good evening.
It is a tremendous pleasure for me to get to talk to you.
Thank you.
I hope you had a great flight. Is this, by the way, your first time in Austria?
No, I've been to Austria several times, and I came from San Sebastian Film Festival, so I've been in Europe for a little bit.
And do you like it here?
Oh yeah, I do. A lot.
Okay, it's pretty cool to hear.
It's a great city.
My first question refers to your highly anticipated new movie, Wonderstruck, which is about to celebrate its Austrian premiere tonight. The movie is based on a book written by Brian Selznick, who also wrote the screenplay, and is said to be mainly aimed towards a younger target audience, and includes some fantastical elements, which is pretty different to the themes you usually cover with your movies. What drew you to that material?
It was really the uniqueness and beauty of his concept and his script, which was the first script he adapted from one of his books. And also, clearly, as is true for Hugo, Brian's love of movies and film history, which this is another example of embracing that love. And this one, as Hugo was sort of a love poem to Paris, this is a love poem to New York City. And so it parallels these two stories that interweave between two kids, one set in 1927 and one in 1977. And we find that they follow a similar path through the city, but a very, very different kind of New York City between the two eras, and are in search of questions about who they are and where they came from. But it was an opportunity to do something that was intensely cinematic, that did not rely on dialogue to tell the story, but something that I thought would be an absolutely unique and strange movie that kids could get into, that younger audiences could get into, and I've never really taken that on in my work. And I thought that would be
a challenge.
Yeah, I thought it as a challenge and something that kids kind of deserve. That there's a limited range of stuff, a lot of franchise movies and a lot of sort of similar kinds of genre films that are produced for kids all the time, and this one really defies all categorization.
This is also the first time you have child actors starring in one of your movies. Was it difficult for you to work with such young performers?
It really wasn't. The kids were great. The kids are also they're all meant to be 12 years old in the story, and 12 is a really interesting age because kids are. It's sort of a hybrid. The kids are very sophisticated. They've gained a lot of knowledge. They have a sort of wisdom already about the world, but they're still kids. It's before puberty has entered and hormones have come in and kind of changed everything, And so there's something really remarkable about that age, and there are many films where kids star. Films like Elizabeth Taylor in National Velvet, or Donald O'Connor in How Green Was My Valley. And I went back to these movies because they're have kids in the central roles, and I realized they were all 12 years old when they did those performances. And some of those performances are as liberated and fearless as anything those actors had ever done again. So it's a really unique moment.
It's very nice to hear, and you've always been very vocal about your involvement in the new queer cinema. In recent years, there's been quite a few positive developments within the movement, with movies like, for example, Moonlight winning Best Picture at the Academy Awards. That led to LGBT movies getting noticed by a wider audience. What do you think about those developments and about the current state of queer cinema?
Well, yeah, I thought Wonderstruck. I'm sorry. I'm a little bleary. I came from San Sebastian with a terrible cold, which I tried to sleep off last night. But I thought Moonlight was just a beautiful piece of filmmaking and an incredibly touching and gripping story, and the casting was so remarkable. It was also gorgeously shot. So yeah, I was so thrilled that it got that kind of attention and recognition, and Barry Jenkins got the attention that he so deserved. You know, gay and queer and LGBT audiences have always been a part of art house cinema, and they've been an important audience. Fran Lebowitz, you know, said something really beautiful about the AIDS epidemic. She said, we didn't just lose amazing artists, we lost amazing audiences. We lost a very engaged and critical part of the community that demanded great work, you know, in whatever medium. And it's true, and yet it's from the sort of struggles of those generations and HIV and AIDS that the community has gained strength and has changed the fate of that epidemic, and made itself a necessity, and made itself you know, a presence that can't be denied. And that's reflected in popular culture, as popular culture always reflects these kinds of social forces and changes. So, you know, I've seen a lot of, you know, shifts and turns, and yet we've always been around. It's always been a force. It's always been a presence. And it's just great to see some breakthroughs that we're experiencing today.
And now to a more personal question: when you decided to become a filmmaker, which artist in particular had a special impact on that decision?
Artists. Well, you know, I grew up in Los Angeles. Films had a huge impact on me when I was a kid. The very first films I saw sort of changed me. I think they kind of created a intense, obsessive, artistic sort of hunger to replicate and to sort of return to some experience that I felt in the theater itself. And that would eventually turn into, I guess, a career as a director. But in the 1970s, when I was coming of age, there was a repertory culture of movies, right, of theaters that would show films from every conceivable decade, every corner of the world: European art cinema, American cinema, silent film, Asian film. And that was really my education. So I felt like I got exposed to this wealth of cinema from living in those repertory theaters in the 1970s. And I'm starting to see a little bit of that returning. I'm trying to be very optimistic about the future of movies as less and less people go to the theaters today. But there's some theaters in New York City that just opened in the last couple of years. Metrograph is one of them. And it shows repertory programming like this. And they show Prince on screen. And young people go. And they're excited to see movies projected on the screen. And be in a theater with other people having that experience. And the business model has been a success. And now there's more of those kinds of theaters cropping up. And I don't know if that's happening in Europe, but it's been, in today's America, which has a lot of challenges, clearly, politically, culturally, this is a good thing, you know. So I'm really happy to see that happening. We'll hope to see more of it.
And would you ever consider yourself getting involved with television again, as you've already done with Mildred Pierce a few years ago?
No, absolutely. I had a great experience with Mildred Pierce. I love doing. It was a great experience working with HBO. They were really smart, engaged, interesting people there who really demanded. I think they wanted their company to produce challenging, cutting-edge work, and bring talent from wherever it came, from movies or wherever, to the small screen. And I'm actually developing something right now that I think is better suited for an episodic format, because it should be a bigger, broader spectrum narratively. And you know, you can't help but notice the kind of diversity that's going on the small screen. I mean, of course, I don't want that to deprive
You can do both. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I can do both, and I've been doing both, but I don't want to see all the energy getting diverted into the small screen. We all know every movie that gets shown is eventually going to get, you know, screened on, you know, streaming or cable. But even Amazon, which is trying to do interesting films and trying to engage with directors of merit and create some, you know, distinctive and original productions on TV and on film, are committed to maintaining a theatrical venue, a theatrical window for their exhibiting of films. So, for the moment at least, that's been a good example for me. That's actually been positive, and they are going to have Wonderstruck show in theaters, and it's a 2:4 aspect ratio. It's a widescreen experience. It's meant to be experienced on the big screen. So I'm happy that exists.
Last but not least, I'd like to ask you if there's any specific advice you'd give to young people who'd like to find their way into the film industry.
Well,
work your ass off.
Work your ass off, but you know, the thing that really is amazing about digital technology today and apps on your computers and is that there are tools at your disposal to make things that was always a little bit harder in my years growing up, where you really had to have a camera and buy film and have it developed and have an editing facility or whatever. Now you can really do that yourself, all in-house. And so it just means that the process of starting to put together your ideas visually and cinematically is really in your own hands. And that's pretty remarkable. That's pretty radical. So I just say run with it, you know, like make that technology work for you. Don't make you work for it, you know, like seize that. It's a sort of a fantastic tool. That's really what technology is. It's a tool. It's just something that you want to apply for your own goals and dreams and fantasies. And then that's always the way you also learn the most. There's no film school that's going to tell you or teach you what it really means to put something together into a narrative and have it mean something to somebody else watching it. That's something you have to figure it. You got to do it yourself. And there's that's really the best advice. Then you have also, that gives you something to show. And if you want to eventually write a script for a feature film, you also have that maybe short film that you made yourself, and you say, look, this is my vision. This is the way I'm imagining doing it, you know. So really, it's not any novel advice, but but I do think that's it. It's the tools are there.
Well, then, thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us, and I wish you the best of luck with
Thank you.
Wonderstruck.
Thank you so much. Great to meet you guys.